Hello everybody, my name is Souls Convoy. Today I'm taking a look at Iron Factory EX-62D Shigemitsu, which is their version of a stylized samurai grapple. Quick look at the box, which is just the usual Iron Factory box for Samurai series, absolute nothing burger. This is on loan to me from Fuse9. Thank you again for letting me take a look at this figure and something else I'll be posting soon. Starting right into it the robot mode. This is a very different take on Grapple. Usually the Fusos are like portrayed. I mean, they're kind of big, but they're usually like in this, not in this, they're like in a portly kind of way almost. They usually have like an abdominal bulge, I guess like a, like a belly. In some ways you want to say it. They have like a gut, sorry, not gout. They have a gut. They aren't really super athletic. They aren't proportioned like heroically. But this figure is proportioned very heroically. He doesn't look like he still looks like chunky in a way, but he looks more like he's muscular and well defined rather than, he's the usual, I guess, Fuso look. He doesn't really look like that meek engineer that people usually associate Grapple to be. Getting in close on that head sculpt, I think a lot of people are seeing this and being like, well, is that Bumblebee? Especially if you're a casual TF fan. The yellow used here is kind of strange in a way that, people usually depict Grapple as orange. It really is an orangish yellow in hand, but it photographs very yellow. I think my phone camera is picking it up on video properly, but I'm not sure. But if you see it looking super yellow, it is not actually super yellow. It's this very interesting color that I actually really quite enjoy in hand. Unfortunately, the head sculpt is having a yellow plastic on the head, and unlike the toy version of Grapple that's supposed to be black. So, I kind of wish this was black just to break it up a little bit. I do like how the general face sculpt looks. It looks really nice. The arms are a bit plain in terms of paint. There's some silver paint here and some silver paint there, and this is in silver. Silver for the grill and the windshield wipers, black paint for the windows. But for the most part, he's kind of sparse in terms of details in his robot mode, in terms of painted details. So it can end up looking a little, I guess, monotone almost, because there's just too much of this yellow. But that may or may not be a downside depending on your preference. In terms of articulation, right off the bat, I'm really happy they included proper head articulation. A lot of toys of this character in Inferno, I feel skimp out on head articulation because of the character design, but here they compromised it so you could actually, has a full ball joint, can look up, can look down, side to side, and of course, he can go 360, but there's no point because then he can't see anything. He has a minuscule butterfly, which I thought was really nice. It's a repurposed transformation joint, which is awesome. He can kick out to past 90 on the elbow, and then he can do a, not really a 360 because he clashes, unfortunately. He clashes with this. But he does get good range on the elbow. Double jointed elbow. The way this works is a bit strange. These joints are, you have to kind of do one first, or like simultaneously, because of the shaping of the sculpt, but you do get the full bend. There's a bicep swivel, which is a bit loose on this side, but is taller and sparkly on this side, unfortunately. So I'm not sure what happened here. I usually don't get loose joints with Iron Factory figures. And then the wrists are ball jointed, so you get a little bit of wiggle waggle and a wrist swivel. You have a really nice ab crunch, which gets you, I think, about 30 degrees. You have a fully articulated waist swivel that gets hindered by these side cable panels, which I'll talk about in a second. But for the most part, your waist swivel is unhindered. These cable panels are on ball joints. The ball joints are loose, they get out of the way easily. I don't find them to be a big chore, and you can always just kick them further back so they're more out of the way if you don't like their look. He has hip skirt on a single hinge, and then ball jointed knees ball jointed hips that kick up to, I want to say, not that far actually. Because of the sculpting of the thighs, they do clash. But what I've noticed is that if you just, bring these out, you can get well past 90. So there is a caveat there, but you can get well past 90. You have a double jointed knee, which I believe does get you almost a full bend. And then at the ankle, he's got a hinge inside his foot, inside his calf, which lets you get up to here, and then down to here. And then finally, you have ankle tilt, and you have a separate toe hinge, which lets you get outwards ankle tilt, which is nice. So for the most part, very well articulated. There's a little bit of clashing with these hip skirt things, unfortunately, because they're attached to his torso and not at his waist. But for the most part, they don't really get in the way. In terms of accessories, you have these stabilizers which tab in here and also tab in here. And then you have the main star of the show, which is stores on his back and is his crane boom. The crane boom can extend, has a handle here, and if you use one of his included alternate hands, either the open hand-ish type one, sorry, it's focusing on him and not the hand. This one is like open holding hand, and there's a closed holding hand. He can hold. You simply put this in back here. Oopsie daisy. There you go. Nice secure fit. Unfortunately, this hinge is a bit loose. It won't really matter. I'll show you in a second why. Because if you just push it, well, if you just push it down, it just locks it in place almost. These hands are on ball joints. They come off. And also just turn this back. And then you can just tab it in. Pop the ball joint back on, which is a bit more difficult than you think it is when you're on camera, as most things are on camera. There you go. And he can hold his crane boom as a weapon, his main weapon. There's a lot of cool poses you can get out of this. I think it's a pretty cool look. It reminds me of Cybertron Mud Flat, for those of you who know who that toy is. I think it's awesome. He also has a pair of open hands, like usual fanfare, which work fine. So he comes with a total of the 2 closed fists, which I had him with during the articulation segment. 1 closed open hand, 1 pair of closed open hands, 1 pair of open hands, and then 1 pair of just open hands. So 1 pair, fist, which he's using one of right now, and then a pair of the open holding hands, and then a pair of the closed holding hands, which he's using one of right now. So 4 pairs of hands, including the ones that come on him. Let me get you some size comparisons. So first, with some third-party legends that are relevant. New Age's Depth Charge, who isn't exactly a relevant comparison, but he's the guy who shows up every time. Iron Factory's Red Alert. So if you are a fan of Inferno and Red Alert as a pair of roommates, that's how they would scale together. I don't have Inferno, but he's the same size as Grapple. And then finally, New Age's Man of War / Sea Spray. Well, Tremors, but whatever. And then finally, oh wait, hold on. Doctor Who Micromaster. And then for some size comparisons with official stuff, for those of you who don't own third-party legends and are interested, I have lots more reviews of other third-party legends toys on my channel. Deluxe, Core, and a Legion class or the old Legends class size figure. So here are your size comparisons. Decent size. I'll get him transformed, and we will take a look at his crane mode. Here we have some alternate mode size comparisons. Here he is next to a Core, a New Age Legends class figure, a Doctor Who Micromaster, and a Legion class figure. So, he's about I'd say core sized in alternate mode. And then just move these guys out of the way. Here he is next to a deluxe class figure. So yeah, about, I'd say, larger than a core. Usual Legends affair. I don't have a version of the New Age Fuso mold anymore, but I think it was around this size, if not a bit thinner, maybe a little bit longer. I might be misremembering. Aesthetically, I really like what's going on here. He has this like really like, I don't know, chunky look to him, which works really well. I think it reminds me of like, I guess, a Unicron trilogy era Transformers alt mode, where it just feels like very chunky and playable. It looks like a toy of a crane that a kid would really like in that sense, I guess. I don't know if it's aiming for realism. It really isn't, but it cleans up surprisingly well. One of my complaints about the New Age version of this character, or this mold at least, was that like the side sections were just basically the arms. But here, I think this is one of the rare Inferno/Grapple toys that actually, like, you know, cleans up from the side, which most don't, because the character design just has the arms out there. Unfortunately, from the back, it's a little bit less clean, and then from the top, the illusion kind of vanishes because it's just the arms, kind of like the other versions of this character. There are some gimmicks as well. Before I get to the gimmicks, though, I do wish these rims were painted. I wish those have been painted. The black look is nice, but I kind of wish they were painted silver. But for the most part, the paint is really good. The glossy black paint for the window, and the silver paint for the windshield wipers is great. Nice tampographs here and there for extra paint detail. So it does look really good. I think in hand, the color's a bit different than how it shows up on camera. I took some photos of it when I first showed off the toy, and they were like macaroni yellow, which is weird. Also, it rolls really well, actually. Also, the gimmick, you can take this and hinge that upwards, and then you can extend the crane. Extending the crane requires a little bit of force. Pushing it back in requires even more. It catches halfway through. There's also another issue here, which is the only issue I have with this alternate mode, really, is that the head assembly is what keeps this in place, and there's no tab here, so this just kind of like rocks on a hinge inside freely, which can make it difficult to balance things on the crane if you want it to hold things. I did manage to have it in the gallery, though, so you can see it there. Also, this is supposed to tab in. Does not tab in. Like, there's no tab. I think they just forgot, or they just didn't account for it being so... I don't know, it's a bit of an oversight. I do wish that this head assembly, you know, tabbed in robustly here, and then I wish that this panel that this is entirely located on tabbed in robustly there. And the last gimmick is you can take these accessories, his stabilizers, and you rotate them around and extend them on both sides. And there he is. I think this looks great. If you want to rotate it 360, again, another design oversight here, you kind of have to pull it out a little bit to get it over that. So you can see it's come out of the 5mm port a little bit. So that's also another design oversight. But other than some iffy moments with the crane, for the most part, I really like what's going on. Just a solid alt mode, honestly. But again, here, collapsing the crane is a bit sketch. It's a bit sketch. But for the most part, outside of my issues here, I really like what's going on with this alternate mode. In a sec, final thoughts. Getting into final thoughts, I'm going to preface this by saying thank you again to Fuse9 for letting me take a look at this figure. My overall impression, I think, is pretty positive. I won't even say great. This is a $30 figure, and I honestly think there's a lot here, right? The design is great. The alt mode is shockingly great. The transformation is fun, and I think it is really a good stylistic reinterpretation of the character design. I also like the fact that it has, like, you know, play features like the stabilizers and like the crane arm. Even if they're minimal, they do elevate the experience, and I think give you a great package for the price point. I have some complaints, like especially the head assembly not tabbing in crane mode, which I feel is just a disservice to an overall really solid and chunky alternate mode that feels like it's meant to be like rolled into walls. It feels very playable, and then all of a sudden you go to play with the crane arm and it doesn't tab in super well. That's a bummer. Wish they'd added a few more locking points for that. I do like the overall commitment to articulation. The hip panels kind of get in the way, but not really. They're super easy to work around, and the rest of the figure is basically kibble free, so it's generally a fun time to pose. There are some minor tolerance issues here and there. I have a loose bicep swivel, but for the most part, Iron Factory is pretty tight and pretty solid, so overall, tolerances are pretty good as well. The paint is a bit sparse though, and especially on this version of the mold, I think the yellow is just overbearing. There's too much of it. He did need some breakup. I think going for like the tune approach of his main orange yellow being the primary color to a shocking degree should have been avoided. I think he needed a bit more like black detailing like the original toy. I will probably pick up a version of this mold for myself. I'm thinking Artfire. But, you know, it's a good mold. If you're into it, I definitely recommend this, I think, if you're into this look. Just a really fun figure, honestly. I don't really have that many major complaints. Like, yeah, the tabbing issue for the crane arm assembly is a bit sad, you know, it's unfortunate, but it really is just, like, it's workable. It's not the biggest issue in the world. Again, if you just are smart with the balance, you can still hold, like, Legion class figures using the crane arm, which I thought was super cool. On the hook, right? So it's still playable. Overall, great fun time, recommended, great pickup for the price. Obviously, like if you don't like the look, if you don't like the reinvention, then yeah, pass. If the design doesn't work for you, then just pass. It's not like you have to buy this just because it's a good playing time. If you don't like how it looks like, pass on it. But if you like how it looks and the price seems fair to you, I personally think it's really fair. There's not many Transformers in the market that do this much for $30, honestly. I mean, it's way more articulated than a deluxe class figure, and a deluxe class toy is $27.50 for me after tax. I mean, this is just, you know, it's the price of a deluxe, and it's a lot more. So I don't think it's priced poorly at all. So I can recommend it. But that's basically all from me. A bit short on the final thoughts segment, but it really is straightforward. You know, good, solid figure. You like how it looks, pick it up. You don't, pass on it, but, you know, maybe give it a second look just in case. Wait for a different deco or something, you know. If you don't like this one, maybe pick up Inferno or Artfire. Maybe hope they do Holler, you know. But that's it from me. Thank you guys again. Again, thank you to Fuse9 for letting me borrow this figure. And I have a link to my Discord server in the description. Hope you all have a great day. Souls Convoy, peace out.